this video we're going to talk about rates of fire, and I'm going to try to cross this over to something that's relevant for, civilians, law enforcement, people that are in the military, kind of just giving them, kind of a refresher on this stuff, and also, you militia types that maybe having a hard time understanding your role if you're trying to be militaristic or whatever. But I'm going to base this off of some knowledge that you can find out of the Marine Rifle Squad manual, which I'll put a link to a PDF in the description below. So go ahead and look at that if you want to reference, and has a lot of good knowledge on the doctrine and stuff like that. Now, when it comes to rates of fire in that book, I'm just going to go ahead and throw out some numbers and something else that's not necessarily in there, but I want to discuss it and put it into context for some of these things. So first off, I want to talk about why we have different rates of fire. Well, per doctrine, typically, like I've seen this a lot with machine gunners, they typically will say sustained rate of fire or rapid rate, and talking gun, blah, 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 where they're able to give sustained fire, but they're using two guns, they're able to keep the heat low and stuff, so they don't have to do barrel changes, because that can be a pain in the butt when you're actually fighting. But anyways, one of the things that's in the manual is for riflemen, the average rounds per minute was about 12. So that basically is like one round every 5 seconds. That's what they found in the time of authoring the Marine Rifle Squad manual, and I believe a lot of that has to do with range studies and stuff like that. And you got to think, the thing that needs to be remembered here is not everybody in the military is well trained. Not everybody can hit accurately, and I don't know what kind of ranges they were actually shooting at, because the longer the range, the more precision you're going to have to deliver. And they didn't even say if it was an area target or a small target, or didn't even say the size, man-sized target or area target, whatever. Is it the barn or the man in the barn? So that was the average. Now that sounds kind of slow. However, I have been given that command before. When I was overseas, and when there's like 8 guys, like if you're in a team like militia or whatever like that, where you'd actually, or in the military, where you'd actually be giving good precise shots at range or even close quarters for suppression or whatever, 1 round every 5 seconds is not a slow rate of fire when you have a lot of people doing 1 round every 5 seconds. So it's basically boom, 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 boom. It's pretty consistent, and sometimes it can be pretty rapid. And when you have an automatic rifleman as well, like those of you who might have binary triggers or something, you could actually deliver a pretty good amount of accurate fire. Now, of course, that number can be reduced based on skill and range and stuff like that, but it's based on a good precision. And like, say, I'm guessing it's basically like hit the button on my shirt from 300 meters, not just somewhere here. It's fine precision. I'm guessing that they need with, like, I'm guessing this is during the time of iron sight, so that's basically what they were getting. It takes a little more concentration, yada, yada, yada. So now let's go ahead, now that we talked about rifles and kind of the association there, I'm going to kind of mix in the machine gun or automatic rifleman rates of fire. So first off, we'll start off with sustained. We got sustained, and we got rapid and cyclic and stuff like that. Cyclic isn't in the manual, however, it is pretty modern, something that I learned when I was in, and they discussed it as part of malfunction correction or when to deliver it or whatever. But starting off with sustained, for an automatic rifleman, that's about 85 rounds per minute. So those of you who are having a binary trigger or whatever, if you're actually acting as the automatic rifleman or something like that, you're looking at about 8 rounds every 5 seconds. So you're basically just putting down a rapid burst. And the idea behind that burst is you're getting one sight picture, and then obviously you're trying to reacquire after that. But the idea behind sustained fire is you're delivering accurate cones of fire onto the area. Now, typically machine guns are for suppression and covering an area, and it's kind of spray and pray typically with machine guns, because you're hoping that that cone of fire will actually cover a good area. So, well, a tighter area obviously, because maybe you're delivering enfilade fire or something like that where you're actually shooting down the line. This would be a good initial burst and sustain it. If they peel out to the side, you could probably still do enfilade fire if they peel off and they're still somewhat in line. If they had nowhere else to go, like being up against walls, that cone of fire can bounce off walls and stuff like that, depending on what it's made of. But anyways, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. So for a rifleman, sustained fire is basically to where, you know, you're probably firing once every 3 to 5 seconds. Or even as fast as you can hit with great precision. So it's sustained. You can deliver that fire, that accurate fire, and take out targets as needed for a long time without overheating or causing a malfunction or stoppage or whatever you want to call it, or needing a barrel change in for those that would have something like that, where you can actually get a barrel changed. Like if you have a 249 that FN sells for the collector version and you were somehow able to modify it. But anyways, the next one is rapid, and that comes in roughly 200 rounds per minute. And this is kind of where you can step it up a little bit. So you're kind of doubling the rate of fire. So you're looking at about an 8-round burst every like 2 seconds or something like that. So basically, you're launching a lot of hate towards the enemy, and that's usually something where they're coming in closer. Like maybe they're doing an advance. You start with sustained fire, so you can sustain the hate. And you have to get up to rapid because they're getting a little too close and you need to really start knocking down targets. And your cone of fire is going to be more effective. So to get in the area target, you can actually slay bodies, you know, a little more effectively without having to worry about complete precision on an area. So for riflemen, this is basically shooting as fast as you can hit accurately as in combat accuracy, because again, you're following the principles of the automatic rifleman, or you may not, depending. Like if you're in the military, your team leader or squad leader might actually say, you know what, rifleman, just do your stuff. The automatic rifleman, you pick up the slack. I've seen that done before. I've actually been a part, you know, I've seen that. So anyways, for riflemen, of course, it would depend, but if you were going to have to deliver an equivalent of this, I would say probably 1 shot every second or 1 shot every 2 seconds. You still want to get some precision if you can, but you want to start knocking down bodies fast. You need to step it up a little bit, as police would call it, stepping it up, you know, and kind of get the job done a little faster. So the next one is cyclic. Now cyclic is you're just cutting loose. And you're basically spraying, because at that point they're either so close or whatever that you don't really need to worry about aiming, because wherever you go, they're there. Charlie's in the bush and they are lined up and just mow them down. That was a lot of what you would see, and that right there is going to heat up your gun pretty fast, especially automatic riflemen in general. You're going to be dumping mags. You're going to be dumping, and that's a pretty bad situation to be in. So when you're dumping and you're needing to support that rate of fire, you're probably going to be going to a pistol, and then you're kind of, you know, whatever. But that's a lot of fire coming down if you have a team. So anyways, machine guns are going to get worn out. They're going to need barrel changes after, you know, a belt of 200 rounds, which would basically be in a minute. This is kind of something I would discourage from my experience. You want to exercise control, and if you're part of the military and you're just going out on patrol and you're like 2 miles away from base, and you're probably not even going to carry, you're just going to be dumping rounds just to get rid of the weight. I've seen people do that. Anyway, because they regret taking out too much ammunition, more than what was recommended. And when they got their rate of fire, and they were still directed by the squad leader on how much fire to put on the enemy, they're like, oh, I'm doing sustained and I've got all this crap on now. So I have to be more controlled than just the video game of spraying. So typically it's probably not best to wear out your gun in that way. And some people are like, well, I've seen where you need to get the rate of fire up initially, just in order to start suppression. Well, here's the problem. When you actually have an experienced enemy, they don't respond to suppression. Unless they're actually getting hit or getting accurate fire, just shooting in a general direction, like I've seen a lot of people do, mostly in the Army. They just start spraying over the walls and doing the Haji shots. You know, that doesn't really do anything. Suppression is useless because you might as well just be firing blanks. So if you want your first magazine to be blanks because you know you're just going to mag dump in a general direction, you know, that would probably be cool with me. You're less of a liability. So anyways, I know I've seen some documentaries of like the SEALs when they do their live action, you know, jungle warfare stuff. They're just spraying in the jungle, Charlie in the bush kind of crap. That might work for that, just sweeping the jungle or something like that, like Predator. But it's probably not something I would encourage. I would want to actually hit my targets. Now, if you want to shoot at an area, like give a 3-round burst, like if you saw the movie We Were Soldiers, that was a pretty accurate thing. Like shoot it anywhere you think the enemy might be. Just shoot 3 rounds or whatever. That's actually a pretty valid thing. Like shoot in the area where you think they might be. And that would be something I would do instead of just going cyclic right away. You do need to take cover, you do need to respawn, but you need to know where the fire is coming from so you're not wasting ammo, because if you are in a crappy situation like that where you're going to be sustaining that incoming fire, probably not the best thing to burn your ammo so you can't defend yourself as well, or you really have to step it down on being able to defend yourself just so you can have ammo to defend yourself for a long drawn out firefight. So anyways, how can these kind of be applied to someone who carries? When you carry a gun, typically you're going to be at close range, right? And the principle of it is to shoot as fast as you can hit accurately. Every round has a lawyer behind it, right? It does. I don't care if you have like UCCA or whatever. You're going to have to answer up to your hits and especially your misses, because you are a liability. Officers have to answer that, departments have to answer that. You do have accountability. You have to know your target and what lies beyond it and actually be competent enough to actually hit your target. So, with all that said, I think the idea of trying to use these, something like cyclic or sustained fire suppressing with a pistol, is absolutely ridiculous. That's just me. I don't like the idea of just spraying in a general area. That is a huge liability to the community. That's gangland style crap. I don't want you guys carrying guns if you think that that's okay. I think that you are the reason why we have a bad name. But anyways, other than that, I have no opinion, right? So I would think that initially, like if you're doing a contact shot, you know, you shoot it as fast as you can put rounds in them. And then, of course, shoot as fast as you can hit accurately. If that's a flash sight picture where you're just putting rounds in them and you can see that your rounds are on target and you can do good center mass hits, that's good. So the doctrine of this, it kind of gives you an idea of effective fires and stuff that I've seen overseas, but the most common stuff that I've seen is just shooting as fast as you can hit accurately, having control, and applying good accuracy. See, that's kind of why the Marine Corps went away from the 249. You can deliver better control through a rifle, like an automatic rifle, kind of like the M16 they had in Vietnam or whatever. You can deliver control, and since they're just operating off bursts and they want to actually hit their target instead of making them go down and go to another area, accuracy is the key, and the best suppression is to knock them out and to be done with them. That's the best suppression. So anyways, with all that, rates of fire, it's good to know. It's good to know them, and you can apply them to certain areas, but you need to understand that no one method is going to be a good cover-all. You need to be a little versatile, and especially if you're operating in a team and you're trying to defend yourself and you're in the military or whatever, it's probably good to understand that you need to be more controlled and a little more I would say, discriminatory in your fires. Instead of just doing your Haji shots or whatever, actually know your target and positive identification and slay bodies properly. So anyways, with all that said, I appreciate you guys watching. Go ahead and leave a comment below if you guys are in the military, were in the military, what you guys were taught, your experiences or whatever. That's very good to get in on those discussions. So check out the comments below, add a comment, and give me a like and subscribe. And any suggestions are good, so go on my Facebook, link down in the description below, put in video requests or subjects, maybe an extension to this, or maybe a start of a different discussion or whatever. So I'm open to suggestions, so thanks a lot for watching. You guys have a good one.